This is my song. I'm recording on my iPad. And great. That's very embarrassing. Hey everybody, this is Greg from Brooklyn Music Factory. We are going to be diving into GarageBand for iOS. We're going to be setting up a very simple recording session today. That is our goal, to track at least one thing, maybe two things at the same time. So before we get started, I just wanted to go over a few things about recording. The number one thing that's important for us as far as gear goes is you don't need very much. You don't need any microphones, but you do need some headphones. So they could be headphones, they could be earbuds, anything, but we just want to make sure that we're having whatever audio being pumped into our ears and not coming out of the speaker of our device. The reason why is because if anything that is coming out, even if it's just a metronome or anything that's being played while we're recording, that's also going to be picked up. So if you're recording a guitar part and you're playing along to a metronome and it's coming out of the speakers of your device, then that metronome will also be recorded, which we don't want, and that's called bleed. So you definitely want to make sure that you have headphones. And then a little side note from that, the microphone that you're going to be using is the microphone that's built into your device. So if you have an iPad or an iPhone, it's going to be recording the microphone there. But if you plug in earbuds or any sort of headphones that have a microphone that is part of the headphones, then it defaults to that. So if you are tracking a guitar part and you have one of these earbuds that has a built-in microphone, it's probably going to record your breath better than it's going to record the guitar, right? So it's going to record as you're playing guitar. I don't know why you'd play guitar like that. But that's something to note. So if you are tracking something other than your voice, you want to make sure that you have headphones that don't have a microphone. So hopefully you have some sort of headphones that don't have a microphone that's automatically built in. Okay, so those are just some ground rules. I've already opened up the app. It should, I'm not sure, but it should bring you to this screen. It might bring you right into a session right away. So if not, we're going to see what that looks like in just a second. These are some folders that are just some projects that I'm working on. But we're going to go up to create a song. Boom. For today, we are going to use the audio recorder. So this is the microphone that is built into your device, or like I said, your headphones or earbuds. It gives you some options. It lets you record voice or instrument. It's relatively the same thing. It just gives you some different options. With the voice, it gives you options to tweak, like it has a pitch correction, which is pretty cool, like an auto-tune feature, whereas the instrument doesn't. The instrument, I forget, I think it focuses just on things that you would need from an instrument. We don't have to worry about those for now. For now, it ends up usually being the same sort of thing. We're going to go to voice. So we'll create a voice track, and there you have it. We have our track settings. Now, it looks like over here we have level. If it goes up to the red, that means it's tracking too loud. So I think if you bring this down, hey, everybody, yeah. Okay, cool. So I brought this down. Hey, that's a good tracking level. I'd bring it up a little bit more. But definitely give your loudest moment the gauge there, right? So I want to be singing, this is the loudest part of my song. Good, it only got up to there. Yellow is fine. Definitely don't want it to get into red. That's called peaking or clipping, and that will distort it. I'm probably sure you've heard it just now in this recording. It probably sounds like that when I'm speaking. So that's how to adjust the level, the recording level of your microphone. Okay, so these are settings that we're not going to worry about today. First thing we're going to look at, this is the track view. It's not a very friendly view of what the whole session looks like, though. These are just things that are particular to the track that you're recording. I like to go up to this icon up here. We're going to click on that. And that is your session view. So this plus sign lets you add more tracks. The tracks will appear in this column, and you'll see all the different waveforms that will populate here as you record. So this just gives you a better sense of what the whole session looks like. If you go up to that microphone, that is the track view. If I can click on it, try it again. There we go. So that's the track view that's specific to what you're recording. So we'll go back up to session. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what all these buttons do. And I might skip over some because this is just a general, I just want you guys to get recording. This will bring you back to the folders of all the different sessions that you have. So that was where we started. This view you don't have to worry about right now. This is the track view, which we just went over. This is your editing window. So this gives you just some more stuff about your track. Gives you EQ and compression and echo and reverb. We'll get into all that stuff later. FX we're not going to get into at all. Oh, let's deselect that edit screen, by the way. FX we're not going to get into. This brings your cursor back to the start of the song. That's your cursor right here. And the way you select it is actually, you can't select it from that white line. You have to go above, right up here in this area. So that brings you back to the beginning. This is play. This is record. That record will be recording whichever track that you have selected. So make sure that if you want to record in whatever track is here, you have to make sure that you've selected that track. So I'll show you a little bit about that later. This is the volume of what you're listening to. So that can also be adjusted by pressing the button on your device. This is your metronome. It is blue, so that means that it is on. If you press it again, it's off. It's back on. The metronome is just keeping the beat, it's keeping the tempo. That's going to be super helpful for us if we are recording something together. We have to make sure that we are all referencing the same beats per minute, so that if we put all of our recordings together into a session, that it's all unified and we're all playing to the same beat. This is a loop feature that we're not going to get into today. This is settings, which we will look at in a moment. This question mark gives you a little lay of the land. So again, we'll get into some of these things. I'm going to press that question mark again to make it go away. So before we get into settings, it looks like we only have 8 measures of room to track. After it gets past this 8 measure, it's going to stop. So that's not a lot of time for you to record. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this plus sign that's right up here. And you can create sections. So if you're like a super organized person and you're like section A is 8 measures and then section B, which is the verse, is another 8 measures, you can do that by adding and duplicating those sections. But for today, we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to click on it and we're going to make section A. We're just going to scroll up to like 132. It doesn't matter, but you just want it to be a lot of measures so that you have a lot of time to work with. Does that make sense? So we're going to click just off of that, and boom, we just made a ton of time. So that's great. That's important when you're starting a session, to just give yourself a lot of time if you're kind of still in idea mode. Okay, so we're going to go into settings, and the first thing we're going to take a look at is the tempo. It automatically sets it to 110 BPM, which means beats per minute. So we're going to click on that. Let's say you are the one that is setting the tempo. You're the one, you have a new idea, and you're like, I'm going to go with this. Dun, 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 dun. I'm just tapping this button, and it is setting the tempo. So you can see over here it's kind of fluctuating. But let's say it was 106. Let's just go with that. So that's where you have set this tempo. If someone is like, hey, dude, I've recorded something and I want you to put the bass over it, the session, you have to tell that person. The session is at 106 beats per minute. When you open up a new session to do this, you have to make sure that it's set to 106 BPM. And then we can click off screen there. The metronome is set, so it's on. And just a way to test it is press play. Beep. Boop, boop. Cool, sounds good. Sounds like what I set it to. If not, you can go back and kind of tweak it accordingly. You could be like, oh, you know what? I think that's a little too fast. So play around with that. Make sure that you're setting the right tempo for the tune that you're recording. If you don't want to track to a metronome at all, if you're just trying to get ideas down, you're not worried about playing it perfectly to a metronome, no worries. Just click metronome off. Don't even worry about it. Now you're just gonna record. Okay, so let's go back into settings. We have time signature, so just make sure that you're in the right time if you're counting to 4 or to 3 or to 6. So you can click on that. You can see what that looks like. And then key signature. So the key signature we don't really have to worry about if we are using a track like a microphone and that's all we're doing. But if we are using a software instrument, you do want to set it to whatever key that you're playing in. So a software instrument might be a keyboard or a synthesizer that's built into GarageBand. That will be very helpful using those, and you could toggle it back and forth between major and minor, which is really neat too. But for today, we're just going to leave it at C because we're not using any software instruments. All right, cool. This other stuff we can get into another time. All right, we're going to click off screen there. So we have, what have we done so far? We created a track, right? We took a look at the views here. The big one to keep focusing on is this one right here, where it toggles back and forth between the track view and the session view. We have our metronome, which we will be utilizing or not. We have our plus sign, which adds measures to our session. Every session, when you open it up from start, only has 8. So just be sure that if you want more than 8 to roll with, that you do that. And we set our tempo in settings and our key and time signatures there. So there you have it. We are ready to record. I'm going to hit this button right here, which is to bring our cursor all the way back to the beginning of our track, because if we had it here, it would start to record from here. So that's not what we want for today. So we're going to bring it back, and all I'm going to do is hit record, and we're going to see what happens. I'm going to turn the metronome on because I'm going to demonstrate what it looks like if you do 2 tracks at a time, or layer tracks. I don't know what to sing. I'm going to come up with something. This is going to be embarrassing. Here we go. Record. This is my song. Oh, yeah, yeah. This is my song. I'm recording on my iPad. And stop. Cool. So let's listen back. We can press play. This is my song. Oh, yeah, yeah. This is my song. I'm recording on my iPad. And cool. And then you can press stop. Like this has a really stupid amount of reverb on it, so I'm going to bring vocal hall down. You could do pitch control, which will make it sound like T-Pain, like an auto-tune thing, which is like really funny. We don't have to worry about these settings for today. Let's go back into session view. Cool. So there's our waveform. It's super tiny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to like not pinch in, but pinch out. Does that make sense? And then I'm going to kind of scroll with a finger to find where that waveform is. And then I could even pinch in a little bit more and just scroll. So that's super intuitive. It's really a nice feature to have. So you could kind of pinch in to see what the whole song looks like. And then you could squeeze out, if that makes sense, pinch outward to get a closer view. And then just scroll left to right within that. So there's my vocal take. Let's put another one over there. So we're going to go to this plus sign. We're going to do another voice track. It's ready to go. Let's bring our cursor back to the beginning by pressing this button. And we're going to record. Whenever you record, it gives you a 4 count at the top. Or if you're in 3, it'll give you a 3 count. So that's what that's about. That comes in handy. If you need more than a 3 count, or a 4 count rather, you could start your recording here, and then what it'll do is it'll give you a 4 count, and then it'll count out another measure, and then you can come in. So that could be a little cheat for you if you need more than a 4 count, because sometimes 4 count's not enough time to get ready. So you could start your session on measure 2, and then you could have 8 counts coming in. Okay, so we're going to bring it back to beginning because that's where we started. So let's record another track. So if we go back to session view, we can see now that we have this track which we recorded, and this track is lighter, it's brighter, which means that it's highlighted. If I go up to this one, now that one's highlighted. So if I pressed record, it would be recording over this track. So we don't want to do that, right? So we want to go down to here. Now we will be recording right here. All right, you guys ready? Let's, what was I saying? This is my song. This is my song. Okay, we're just going to record something silly. Here we go. This is my song. Oh, yeah, yeah. This is my song. I'm recording on my iPad. And stop. Cool. So let's go back to session view so we can see what both of them look like. And there you go. We have 2 tracks. This is going to sound absolutely ridiculous, and I'm a little embarrassed that I recorded this for you all to hear. This is my song. Oh yeah, yeah. This is my song. I'm recording on my iPad. And great. That's very embarrassing. If you don't want to hear it with the metronome, if you're like, okay, that's annoying, turn the metronome off. So now it is off in playback, but you should not hear the metronome because you have headphones. This is my song. Oh yeah, yeah. Right? We don't hear the metronome anymore. If the metronome is off, it is off. So if you go back to recording, you got to make sure that you turn your metronome back on. That is if you're using metronome. Okay, cool guys. So just to review, we learned how to open up a session, to select the microphone track for today. We learned about some of these buttons up at the top. We learned about our metronome and adding more measures, setting the tempo, setting the key and time signature, and how to add more tracks and track multiple things. So that's just round 1 of many GarageBand tutorials that I'll be making, but this will definitely get you off to a good start. All right, guys, have a great day. I will see you soon.